Well, we're midway through the summer season. Hopefully, your summer break has been good so far. I know the hockey season just around the corner, but in the meantime, let's continue doing our season by season OHL history series as a way of getting us through the off season for junior hockey fans that kind of miss being at the arena and whatnot. So, this video, we're at 2009 2010. It would be the 30th season in OHL history. So, that means this is now the 30th video in the series. And if you've been following along, awesome. Appreciate it. If you haven't been following along, if this is your first video, the series starts in 1980-81, and you can find the playlist on the channel titled OHL History, and you can follow along season by season. But let's get this season underway. Now, this was a big year for Jersey fans because the OHL would have the new Reebok Edge jerseys. So all 20 teams would unveil new uniforms. Some would adopt new logos, just new looks in general. And you'll notice as we go along, I have been putting the up-to-date logos for the season here in the video. So you'll notice a few of the teams making significant changes. So let's look at those logos as we go through the standings, starting off the West Division. The Windsor Spitfires, once again at the top, 50, 12, 1, and 5, their record, 106 points. While the Plymouth Whalers, they were second with a record of 38, 27, 1, and 2 for 79 points. The Sioux Greyhounds, they would finish third with a record of 36, 27, 1, and 4 for 77 points. The Saginaw Spirit, fourth with a record of 34, 27, 4, and 3, 75 points. And at the bottom of the division, the Sarnia Sting with a record of 17, 46, 2, and 3, 39 points, and they would miss the postseason. In the Midwest Division, the London Knights, they led the charge with a record of 49, 16, 1, and 2, 101 points, while the Kitchener Rangers, second with a record of 42, 19, 4, and 3, 91 points. The Guelph Storm finished third with a record of 35, 29, 3, and 1, 74 points. The Erie Otters, fourth with a record of 33, 28, 5, and 2 for 73 points. And the Owen Sound Attack, fifth in the division, but would miss the playoffs with a record of 27, 33, 4, and 4 for 62 points. Moving over to the Eastern Conference, starting with the Central Division, the Barrie Colts, they would lead the way, 57, 9, 0, and 2 for 116 points. This was a powerhouse team, and Alex Pietrangelo also traded to the Barrie Colts for this season for their big run. Second in the division, the Mississauga St. Michael's Majors, 42, 24, and 2 for 82 points. The Brampton Battalion, third with a record of 25, 29, 7, and 7 for 64 points. The Niagara Ice Dogs, they would finish fourth with a record of 26, 34, 2, and 6 for 60 points. And the Sudbury Wolves, fifth with a record of 26, 35, 4, and 3 for 59 points. In the East Division, it would be the Ottawa 67s who would lead the way, 37, 23, 5, and 3 for 82 points. Second, the Kingston Frontenacs, a record of 33, 32, and 3 for 71 points. The Peterborough Petes, third in the division, 29, 35, 1, and 3, 62 points. Oshawa finishing fourth, and the Generals would miss the postseason with a record of 24, 39, 3, and 2, 53 points. And the Belleville Bulls also missing the playoffs with a record of 20, 42, 6, and for 48 points. Now, the big storyline this season was Taylor versus Tyler, Hall and Sagen. They were the projected top picks going into the 2010 NHL Entry Draft. And what was even better, you have Taylor Hall playing for the Windsor Spitfires and Tyler Sagen for the Plymouth Whalers, two bitter rivals in the West Division. So that was a pretty fun rivalry to follow during the 2009-2010 season. Now, during the season, Rocco Tullio, he would add two new partners as owners of the Oshawa Generals, Adam Graves and Pete DeBoer, who happened to also be former members of the Windsor Spitfires. Graves used to play for the Spitfires, and DeBoer no, he wasn't with the Spitfires. Anyways, continuing on, the season would see a vicious hit on Ben Finelli. This was actually early in the season. The defenseman would suffer a fractured skull after being hit into the boards by Michael Liambis of the Erie Otters. I was at this game, and it was a hard night seeing Finelli go down like that. It was just the metal stanchion behind the net. His helmet came flying off as a result. The paramedics rushed him to a hospital in Hamilton. He was able to make a recovery and return to the OHL a few years later, but still a vicious hit from Liambis, who ended up being suspended for the rest of the season. So, that was quite the mark that season. That was in the first half between the Rangers and the Otters. Now, looking at the top scorers for this season, Tyler Sagen, he led the way from the Plymouth Whalers, 43 goals, 58 assists, 106 points. But right there with them, Taylor Hall, 40 goals, 66 assists, 106 points. So Tyler versus Taylor all season long. The two players would end up tied in points, but Tyler Sagen would get the tie break with more goals than Taylor Hall. Third in scoring would be Luke Pither of the Barrie Colts. Taylor Beck of the Guelph Storm had 39 goals, 54 assists, 93 points. Nazem Kadri of the London Knights had 35 goals, 58 assists, 93 points. Zach Turcato of the Erie Otters, 31 goals, 62 assists, 93 points. Jeff Skinner, he had 50 goals, 40 assists, 90 points with the Kitchener Rangers. Also from the Rangers, Chris McKinnon, 29 goals, 61 assists, 90 points. Jordan Skellett was ninth in scoring from the Saginaw Spirit, 26 goals, 62 assists, 88 points. And rounding out the top 10 would be Mike Cazzola of the Erie Otters, 36 goals, 50 assists, 80 points. In the playoffs, we'll start with the Western Conference. Windsor would meet Erie in the opening round, and the Spitfires, they would make easy work and a 4-game sweep in that series. Meanwhile, the London Knights, they would need 5 games to eliminate the Guelph Storm, while the Kitchener Rangers, they defeat the Saginaw Spirit in 6 games, and the Plymouth Whalers knock out the Sioux Greyhounds in 5 games. In the Eastern Conference, the Barrie Colts would take on the Sudbury Wolves, and Barrie with the series sweep. Then you've got the Ottawa 67s and Niagara Ice Dogs, Ottawa taking the series in 5 games. The Mississauga St. Michael's Majors, they would sweep the Peterborough Petes, while the Brampton Battalion upset the Kingston Frontenacs in 7 games. In the second round, the Windsor Spitfires and Plymouth Whalers would meet. Taylor versus Tyler once again. This time it'd be Taylor Hall and his team getting the series sweep. And then the Kitchener Rangers. This was such a high-scoring series from what I remember. And Kitchener would end up taking it in 7 games. In the Eastern Conference, the Barrie Colts, they would sweep the Brampton Battalion, while the Mississauga Majors, they would upset the Ottawa 67s in 7 games. So for the conference finals in the West, Windsor versus Kitchener. Now in this series, the Rangers had a 3-0 series lead, but then Taylor Hall and company decided they'd start playing and show up, and they would win this series in 7 games, back-to-back OHL Championship appearances for them. Meanwhile, in the East, the Barrie Colts, they would suffer a loss in the conference final to Mississauga, but the Colts, they would win this series in 5 games. So for the J. Ross Robertson Cup, the Barrie Colts versus the Windsor Spitfires, the top teams in either conference, and the Windsor Spitfires, shocking many, and winning the series in 4 straight. So back-to-back OHL championships for the Windsor Spitfires. So they would go on to the Memorial Cup, which was being held by the Brandon Wheat Kings of the Western Hockey League. Now the Spitfires, they were joined by the Calgary Hitmen of the WHL and the Moncton Wildcats for the QMJHL. And for Windsor, once they got to the Memorial Cup, they were just dominant. 3-0 was their record in the round robin. And they would go right to the championship, and they would meet the host, Brandon Wheat Kings, and they'd make easy work of it. The Windsor Spitfires defeating Brandon by a final score of 9-1. Taylor Hall named the MVP, but just a remarkable march to the Memorial Cup championship here for the Windsor Spitfires. The biggest adversity, of course, in that Western Conference final against the Kitchener Rangers, but outside of that, this was a dominant team over 2 seasons, winning back-to-back OHL championships and back-to-back Memorial Cups. Now, your award winners for this season, starting off the Red Tilson Trophy, Tyler Sagen of the Plymouth Whalers would take that home, along with the Eddie Powers Memorial Trophy. He had to share that actually with Taylor Hall of the Windsor Spitfires. The Matt Layden Trophy went to Dale Hunter of the London Knights, while Taylor Beck of the Guelph Storm wins the Jim Mahon Memorial Trophy. The OHL Goaltender of the Year would be Chris Carosi of the Mississauga Majors. The Max Kaminsky Trophy would go to Jake Muzzin of the Sioux Greyhounds. The Dave Pickney Trophy was split between Chris Carosi and J.P. Anderson of the Mississauga St. Michael's Majors. The Ems Family Award went to Matt Pumple of the Peterborough Petes. Peter Mrazek of the 67s won the F.W. Dinty Moore Trophy, while the Dan Snyder Memorial Trophy would go to Ryan Hayes of the Plymouth Whalers. Ryan Spooner of the Peterborough Petes won the William Hanley Trophy, while the Leo Lalonde would go to Brian Cameron of the Barrie Colts. Eric Goodbranson of the Kingston Frontenacs would win the Bobby Smith Trophy. The Mickey Renaud Captain's Trophy went to John Kurtz of the Sudbury Wolves, while the Wayne Gretzky 99 award, the playoff MVP, would go to Adam Henrique of the Windsor Spitfires. So a lot to take in from the 2009-2010 season, but man, oh man, this Windsor Spitfire team, they would be dominant as they make it back-to-back championships in 2010. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you remember most from the 2009-2010 OHL season? Love the interactions. Thank you very much for tuning in and following along with this series. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We'll talk to you again soon.